Hello, everybody, and welcome to the Plus3 Futures and Commodities midweek show. We are recording here September 4th at around noon Eastern Time. My name's Ben Maldonado. As always, I'm here with my partner, Barry Hederachi. Barry, how we doing?
Doing great, doing great.
So today's show, we're going to talk about Tesla. We're going to do a little recap of Nvidia from last week's show, and then we're going to jump into the NQs. We'll talk about Nasdaq. So we're going to be fast, we're going to be brief, and we're going to get the information out. So Barry, let's see. Tesla's been going sideways for a while. Which way are we going?
Looks like up. Okay, we're done
Yeah.
with that part.
Yeah.
Well, we talked about Tesla last back in February. I think we were right about in here, and we came up with this 192 at the time to be the key level to watch, and that's going to be sort of the pivot, like the balance point, the pivot level, meaning weaker
Hmm.
below, stronger above, and that's going to
Hmm.
be sort of the key level leading into the coming months. And it sort of did that, after we talked about it, we got below 192, and that led to this entire, down leg, which kind of put in a false break to this low back in April of 2023. I'm
Hmm.
holding the crosshair right now. You can see how it got under. And we know it was a fast false break because, after we finished, we really gapped out hard out of that hole and
Hmm.
managed to hold about the 50% of the square. I think this chart is pretty much how it was left from after the February analysis. And we used this 90 square at the time, but at the time we just bounced off the 50%. So we're holding up, holding up in here. And you can see how that 50% of the square ended up becoming a very key, sort of important basing level
Hmm.
moving forward. It's fairly clear. And coming down, you can see this is the square of 92. And if I turn on the thirds, you can see how, the lows came in pretty much 60 degrees
Hmm.
off the high before the low. Okay. That's clear enough. And
Yeah.
from there, we really went hard, got on top of the 50% level, basically held above little triangle, started making higher lows, little triangle, and then and look, the beauty of it is you can see that the high of the triangle was really 192. You can see that, right?
Yep. Yep.
And we built the triangle right under it and broke out, held above, and never really looked back, went back and did another false break at the high back we put in, back high that was in back in December of 2023. Following that, another triangle broke to the downside, came back, and look where we held 192, right? Another little triangle and holding about 192, meaning the whole analysis back then was, if we were able to hold above it, we should move higher. If it's below, watch out. It could have a little bit more to go. So at the
Hmm.
time when we got below, it had more to go, got back up on top. And now we bounced off 192 and it's looking good. Looks like we could possibly do an ABCD up out of here. Okay. So that's the short and sweet of it, mainly because not much happened. I mean, even though we did the last show on Tesla in February, I mean, look how often we came back to visit the 192 and we really didn't leave it other than briefly, and we just came right back into it. Now, what else is happening? What else developed since then? And we can just drop back into the weekly chart that we used and let's take a quick look. Squares out of the way. You guys, all the analysis we did on the February show still holds because the monthly really didn't move a whole lot. And the weekly hasn't moved a whole lot because the high and the low that we were working with, we're still within that boundary. The low in 22 and the high in 23, we're still within that.
Hmm.
So not a whole lot to add on the weekly, other than what's really sort of clear is we do have this big
Another
triangle.
big triangle.
Yeah, and it's a big one. This is on
Multi-year. Yep.
multi-year, multi-month. Here, let's go back. Maybe we can. Even this monthly, we really raked it over the coals last time. So I don't want to spend a lot of time because it's still everything we talked about is still intact.
But you can
But
see
look
that
at the basic
triangle.
pattern, Ben. We
Hmm.
ran up, right? Did a nice move right up into the highs. And once we sold off, we've been in this big triangle,
Yep.
right? Very easy to see. And can it run a little longer before everything's said and done? For sure. That's what's important. We're trapped in here. And here's the weekly. And on the weekly, it's pretty clear. If you drop these two lines, I mean, the midpoint is pretty damn close to this 207 level, which we came up
Hmm.
on
Hmm.
the weekly chart, and the which is not too far, not too far from the 192. Here's where the 207 comes in. That's where this zone came up. We put this block to be sort of the breakdown, kind of like we did on Nvidia when we looked at it. And so to say we're trapped in a big triangle and we're looks like the move is to test the upside of it for now. That's what I can share with you guys.
Agreed.
Anything you want to add to this?
Just the interesting thing is while most of the markets, took in August, took out their June, July lows,
Hmm.
before Tesla didn't.
Right.
It made a
Right.
higher low.
So
So,
kind of lends to the idea of potentially breaking out to the upside.
yep.
We'll have to see. And the ABCD looks to be intact. And on the downside, well, any like you've seen before, we got up to the to do the false break up here
Hmm.
at above 265. What was it, high with 270? We came right back to 192. So, the range is in there. We've really traveled all over. We spent, probably good 80, 90% of the time above the 50% of the square. So we're there. That's kind of where we are. And we could move this square down to the low and start working it from there, since that was a low that we have to deal with. Um, but I feel like square 72 might be working here. Again, this is a quick show. We don't have time to go through everything. So for the people that watch the other one, I just wanted to take it from there without changing anything and set
Hmm.
up the next. And so I think this is enough guidance for the coming, at least for a couple of months, because 192 is still in play, right? What to do.
Yep.
All right.
Let's do a quick review of Nvidia,
All right. Let's get to that.
the star of the market these days, up and down.
Up and down, and lately mostly down.
Yeah.
So if you haven't caught it, you guys, we did it. It was last week, right? Yeah,
Last
last
week,
week
yeah.
we did
Hmm.
a quick Wednesday show on the stock, and we left it with we did. I mean, we went through detail, going through the monthly and weekly and the daily, and what we left off with. I remember, Ben, you saying, "Hey, so that's the bottom line is this 125 line.
Yep.
It's sort of the balance point. If we slip below that, and then I added, yeah, and if we get below 121, can't really get above that. We're probably going to trade lower, and that's where the direction's going.
Hmm.
And pretty much that's what we did, and it looks like we're not done yet. Especially, we'll have to deal with it when we get to let's see, 113 and a half, 114, which is 50% of the square. Um, so it looks like the direction's still done. Not much to do when something's working in your direction. The cool thing is, we had an inside bar on August 30th, and you can see the high of the bar was, 121.75, which was right in that zone, top of that zone, couldn't
Hmm.
really do it. And
Hmm.
our rule about the low of the inside bar getting taken out, well, it was a gap, but if
It
you're
was a
watching
gap. Yeah.
but you watch the overnight aftermarket price action, it worked out perfectly. At the time we talked about uh, reaching 100. I know we talked about that. But that was done. We got there in a hurry. But if we go to the high and we take out the first square. Now here, we didn't quite get to the 90 down, which is about 95.77. So I think that would be the first target to see. If we get there and the markets continue to be weak, and we take out the low that we did in August, it's possible that we get down to the 50% level, which is about $72. Above
Mhm.
that, we have 84. How dare I speak of these numbers? Well, I don't know. It's just, well, it's just how it works, and we have to look at that.
It's
And
geometry.
it's geometry, and this is how you can keep some sanity in this market. You can see this is also putting in a triangle, and that's why if we break it to the downside, the false break should take us at least to 84, and if the negativity pours in, of course, we get the 50% next.
Hey,
And
Barry, spend 1 second because this is really important.
mhm,
Tesla's in a triangle, Nvidia's in a triangle. One we think is going to have a bullish resolution, the other one odds favor a bearish.
mhm.
It's because of where it is in the move, right? Remember the where are we? How did we get here?
Yes, exactly. And where we are in the move and the price action that led us here.
Yeah.
And
It's a good example. It's like a textbook example of same pattern, but the odds are different
yes. And right
because you
now,
need
this is,
you need that context of how did we get here to this spot.
yes, exactly. And I think if you guys look at the weekly and the monthly stuff that we did on each stock, go back and review that, we'll see we kind of we have the same approach, but as he's addressing it down, you can see like, well, this is what we're left with, and
Mhm.
the analysis is really dependent on that. We don't have favorites, so we can come to different conclusions, and
Mhm.
you can see the cycle hit on Nvidia was much more recent than the highs that came in on Tesla, right? So you can see there's a
Correct.
difference already. But I'll tell you one thing though, these triangles building up on a lot of these stocks, it just means we're going to have, some directionality coming up. So we just have to kind of be patient through the squeeze and see how we end up. Now,
Mhm.
the reason we use squares, just to be clear, we have 90 down from the high would be 95.63. And you can see, in August we easily came above it, and ran back up to do 45 high to high, which was also sort of a ending. And then we got
Mhm.
the second drop. The point is, we talk about triangles breaking. Well, which side could it break to? Here, if we hold above 95, great, and 95, and we end up holding above the 50% of the square. At that time, we'll have to look at all the evidence and say, well, you know what? This looks like it's going to break to the upside. You know what I
Yep.
mean? Like we have to use
Yeah,
the
for
levels
sure.
along with the squares to kind of always orient ourselves within the triangle and within the larger pattern. So that's how we do it. And I'm glad you brought that up. So for now, there's the triangle, and the force looks like to the downside, mainly because we talked about those weekly cycles that expired on
Mhm.
on on this talk. So that's a quick wrap on Nvidia. We talked about Tesla. We talked about the general direction.
Yep.
Anything else we want to add to this, or you want to?
I was just let's jump over to the Qs, right?
Yeah, sounds very good. Yeah.
All right, let's take a look at the NQs. Here's your daily. Now, the most important thing that I see on this chart is right here. This is 19,165. If we can't get above that, like get a full bar above it and sit on top of it,
Mhm.
we're vulnerable to at least get down to the half square next and potentially completing this ABCD, which takes us down to around 16,400.
Yeah. Yeah.
The time counts were good. We had 30 into the high from this low, 60 into the high from that low. This is essentially 135 from this low. I mean, that's all very good on this particular high. The interesting thing I noticed too, Barry, is we did 16 bars down,
Hmm.
and if this high sticks, it's 13 bars up. So
And I think one. Go ahead. I'm sorry.
that's all right. Go ahead, jump
I
in.
was going to say if you drop a downtrend line from the two highs, that's going to be. I feel like that's going to hold a lot of weight and it'll help us sort of get this thing squared away easily. And you can
Mhm.
see that line just happens to be pretty much 90 degrees to your parallel, the other lines, the one by ones
Hmm.
going up, right?
Yep.
And so this, I think the line coming down is really, really important as much as the one, your full square
The
level.
square here. Yeah,
Mhm.
yeah. Yep. So the operating thesis right now is we have a high, and now we got to see, okay, what kind of counter trend are we going to get? So if this is an inside bar, if we just do an inside bar today, we know if the low of that gets taken out, you better start looking down.
Yeah.
And if the high of that gets taken out, then maybe, as Barry said, we're going to go up and we're going to test this trend line, and get, because it's going to be really hard to create a an up bar or down bar with this. I mean, more an up bar, sorry. Down bar, it's pretty
Mhm.
easy. Just take out that low. But the up
Mhm.
bar is going to be a little more difficult because we'll have to take out the trend line and really, really get a rally going. So that's the daily. Let's look at the weekly. So this is week number 2 down after only getting 2 weeks up.
Mhm.
Not exactly the most, bullish position. Of course, bigger picture, we know 90 weeks got us the high
Yep.
from the 22 low. So that was a major, we talk about the 90s a lot on these broadcasts this year because there's just been so many of them and it's not that common. It takes
Along
a
with the
while.
circle break was there, which is
Circle break was there, gave us a fast move. We found support on the equilibrium line. So this is painting a much more bearish picture because we
Mhm.
only had a 2 bar counter trend after this down move. So, and now we've got two down weeks so far. So we'll have to see how that plays out. Let's take a quick look at the monthly. You can understand why those lows are pretty important when you look at the monthly.
Mhm.
So 18,770 about. Remember, if we lose this, the half square caught the high. We're now, the lows right on support. If we lose this, it opens up this half square, right? Then the bottom, as long as we're below it, the target's going to be around that 16.5 level,
16.5. Okay.
which ironically is roughly where the ABCD goes, right?
Hmm.
This
Yeah,
was
yeah.
16.4, and that one's like 16.450. So that when you start getting multiple time frames giving you the similar target area, it lends some credence. Now, this is the one that on the last weekly show I said you got to really be careful here. Because look at that.
Mm.
This is a failure.
Yeah.
It tried, then stuck under, boom. Now we're on support of this 45, right?
Hmm.
But again, you lose that. There's your ABCD target. So the picture at this point looks fairly bearish on Nasdaq. And remember, Nasdaq led us up, so it's not unusual for it to lead us down. We'll see. If you're looking at this calendar day, we really got to get above this.
Yeah, that's really the level. And I would even say the highs right below that, that little pack of 3 or 4 days that you have
Yeah,
there.
right in here, right
Right.
in
Yeah,
here.
those where are those highs? It's right there. It's
19.7,
97. Yeah, yeah.
19,700,
So
right in that
between
area.
that and your line, if we can't get above that, this thing is just weak as I'll get out.
It's yeah,
And
it's cooked.
yeah. And if we take out these lows that you talked about, the inside bar
Hmm.
and the low from Tuesday,
Right in
yeah,
here.
those two, if those go, we're set to go. So
Yeah.
it doesn't matter if we do it tomorrow or the day after or Friday, but long as we're below the other level, the level we just looked at, the stack up
Hmm.
there, right under the one by the trend line. Yeah, long as we're below that trend line and we're weak, I think vulnerable. We're just open to take that. If that low goes, we go, and it could be a big one. So
Yeah, I remember the ABCD would be the minimum target. If this is the first leg, this is the second leg, this is a third leg, it could really, really catch fire.
mhm.
So
Yeah,
it's
watch
it's
those
the
levels. Super important.
it's super important levels we need to watch. So Anything else you want to add on the NQs here?
Well, I think, the volatility is there, the action is there, and now we're starting to move like we talked about. I think this month, next month, there'll be a lot of opportunity. So that's why I think these midweek drops are probably going to be helpful because we'll cover the NQ every time. And
Okay. Let me throw it over to you, Barry, and let's wrap it up. We're trying to keep these things brief and informative.
yeah, we can wrap it up. Not much. I don't know if for the 30-minute fans, here's a 30-minute. That's what's happening. We're right at that 55.39 level, big battle going on. And
Hmm.
we're waiting to see how it resolves. If we can't get above that, market's definitely weak, and we can definitely get down to the 54.48 level. But somehow, if we can manage to hold this area, get on top of 55.39, we can probably go up and test our old 55.85 level. Just a quick drop. That's all.
I was in my morning commentary, I was saying all the Bears got to do is just hang around here and burn time. The pressure's on the Bulls. They got to get us back up above that, 50, your 56.29 there on your chart.
Yeah, and that's not going to be easy at this point
No, no,
because the
it's not.
cycles of all the cycles we talked about expiring mid. Remember last week or the week before we talked about these cycles were expiring, and
Hmm.
and we were expecting some kind of a turn, and it looks like they expired, and we had some follow through. So now we just have to play along with the trend. And well, that's all I have to add. And if you guys like our work, please share and like and comment, and we'll catch you guys on Friday.
Yeah, we'll catch you on the next show on Friday. Take care, everybody.
Thanks, Ben. Good job.
All right. See you later.
Bye.